Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports is Ordered. Soon, one day, to be brought to you by Liquid Death. Cherry Obituary, my favorite. Go grab one. Tonight, join me and my guy, the Even Kill, born in Texas, raised in VA, representing New Jerusalem, even though he wants nothing to do with Daniel Jones. Do not bring feelings to a fact fight. He is Mr. Logical. And then, somebody got to cheer for the Commanders. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. I'll volunteer. And then to top it off, I got to hope Florida State beats Memphis tomorrow. But your unorthodox statistician, 2-5. Do me a favor out there. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate. Do all the free things. Do all the good things. Let's get right to it. So, Mr. Logical.
Yeah.
There was a story that happened on Sunday. Unfortunate incident with Tyreek Hill and the Miami police.
Correct.
He was on his way to the stadium. Apparently, he was speeding or recklessly driving. And he got pulled over. And then what happened?
I'm going to have to say a little bit of ego. A little bit of ego happened on everybody's part. I think in this situation, we've seen clips and different videos, but ultimately, no one should get yanked out of their car for a minor traffic violation. But in the same sense, Tyreek, you got to know that you have something bigger going on with your day than to allow the inconvenience of these guys pulling you over. We all know certain situations when you get pulled over and where you are. If you are, I'll give a prime example for myself and Mike. We were stationed in Utah. Utah was big on limiting alcohol consumption. Alcohol is not a big part of the community. I think the entire liquor board for the state that makes all the laws, they're all Mormon. They don't drink. But one thing they do really harp on, big billboards that say you just blew $10,000 because a DUI is going to cost you about that much between fines, court appearances, lawyer fees, so forth and so on. The expectation is that you're going to spend $10,000. So you lead a club in Salt Lake, 1:30, you get pulled over by a state trooper. They're looking for someone who's drinking and driving, no matter what your speed is. So I know the case. So I got pulled over. State trooper asked me about 6 or 7 times. I've been drinking in different formats. You been doing this? Not even a beer 6 hours ago? I was like, nothing, man. Designated driver on rotation, yada, 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 yada. Now, I could have got frustrated and then yelled at him like, listen, man, I already told you fucking 4 times I've not been drinking. What the fuck you want? I could have said that. I was equally within my right to be that frustrated. But sometimes certain situations, they look to antagonize you because they hope that they can pull you out of the car, search the car, find something. Now they magically found a felon. It's a terrible fucking gamble that they go with. And it's a terrible situation to find yourself in. All you got to do is keep your cool. Keep your window down, keep it cracked or whatever. I'm not saying you just got to abide by all rules just because these authority figures say so. No, but you got to figure, what's bigger? My opening week for my football team, my football game, a game I love, a game that pays me, or arguing with these guys that look to lose control. We've seen plenty of videos where cops everybody's not wired the same. Everyone's not calm, cool, and collected. Some people are going to go over the top. Some people are power hungry. So, you're dealing with some people who might get like that. Don't bait it. If he was on a football field, you can talk a little bit of trash to the cornerback. But if you keep going, you're going to get a flag. There's a line. And I think he knew that, but he was like, fuck it, I don't care. And he was calling his agent. Why are you calling the agent because you got pulled over? You just got pulled over. It's not that big a deal. Take your little ticket, fight it in court, make the cop come say how he clocked you with his eyes at 60 miles an hour in a 40. Get it thrown out, press on with your day. But instead, you take that route, and their escalation was ridiculous. It's on them to be professionals. It's incumbent upon the professionals at the scene to be professional. But in the same sense, self-preservation has to be in order as well. We can't ignore that simply because people don't like dealing with the police officers. Or people can't ignore the police officer behaviors because they're back in the blue. So it has to be a real cognizant conversation surrounding this. But mainly, you got to keep the main thing, and you can't focus on whatever's inconvenience you and let that guide you.
Well, see, what was bothering me was the reaction, because everything has to be so sports-like, I guess, in one way. Like, you have a side, you back the blue or you don't back the blue, whatever. Everybody's at war and there's no nuance. So, like, for example, I was talking about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark the other day, and basically how all season long these Caitlin Clark fans have been acting a particular way and then get upset when we call them out. So when I look at this situation, yes, Tyreek didn't start off right with the whole, why you banging on my window like you crazy? You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, the cops come into the situation and get offended, get upset. They're on a power trip. Now it's you go and listen to me, right? Just like when I'm talking to my kid, I might tell my kid, take out the trash. And he like, why he might be like, why you ain't tell me to do that like 10 minutes ago? And I'm like, if you saw it 10 minutes ago, why you ain't take it out before I told you?
Just get your ass
so,
trash.
So I got to yell at him now, even though I don't want to, but that's the way that it comes across. So you got to understand that if you weren't Tyreek Hill, if your name wasn't Tyreek Hill and those cops didn't recognize you, the way that things have been going over the last, say, 10 years or so, you might not be here today. So that's first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? So second of all, when we react to it, you have this corner over here that's like, oh, entitled athlete. Oh, I'm sorry, did the cops inconvenience you? And then over here, you got like, oh, those fucking pigs, they coming out here on this bullshit and like blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, look, I can't tell you how to handle your situation. But the goal in these cop interactions is to get out of there alive. Now, if this was a TV show, it would have been awesome. He's like, I injured my knee. And, I had knee surgery, and then the dude said, I wish you had surgery on your ears. If this was a sitcom, that would be hilarious.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But for the fact that it wasn't a sitcom, made it sad. Because you pulled him over for a traffic violation, and literally Calais Campbell shows up, who is has one of the best reputations in the NFL.
Walter Payton Man of
the Year award, and you locked him out or arrested him or whatever, put cuffs on him just for talking. So then, of course, in true fashion, what did Tyreek do? Scored his touchdown, did his celebration, with the handcuffs behind his back. And the effect of that is just a moment for Tyreek, but it could have after effects for those who look like Tyreek. And so that's where the bigger conversation lies. It's not even about Tyreek per se, because he was famous. But if my black ass get out here and act the way that Tyreek was acting, this would be a solo show. And that's the problem, is that we got to realize that there is a different game out here, but it can't change until you kill somebody, but kind not be good enough. We might just be too far gone.
Yeah, and I've talked about this before, like different conversations. It was very odd for the police officers mainly that were dealing with this situation, that they were I don't know, English wasn't their first language for like 2 or 3 of them. So that was kind of like, okay, I get that, immigration, you become a citizen, whatever the case may be. But it feels like and I've heard like black police officers say this before as well. They felt like they had to go overboard when they deal with black suspects in order to get them to kind of relate to some of their white counterparts. Like some of the white hotheads might think you're kind of soft on guys, so you got to go over the top to assimilate with their behavior. So it's like, was that what's going on here? Because there's always a second guy that comes in extra aggressive, and like when you're dealing with the police, you just want to deal with the one guy. You don't want to deal with the second person. Like I had the police called on me at a bar, at a birthday party, like a few years back, like during COVID, and the security guard, black dude, like pushed me over this chair. And then I was like, "Yeah, what are you pushing me for?" And I rolled over the chair and I stood up. And as I was rolling, I was thinking, like, why is this dude pushing me? Like, I'm chilling. So then when the cop came and he was like, they're like trying to get my information. Nah, you're not getting, like, you can get it if you arrest this dude for assault. He was like, how do you figure that? I'm like, look how I'm dressed, man. I'm wearing Chelsea boots, a sweater, and a floral button up. Do I look like I came here to fight? It's 20 people in my group. It's like 12 women. You think I came here to fight with a security guard when we have a dope group of people celebrating for 3 or 4 hours? I want to end the night fighting with some dude. Like, does that seem like it makes any sense? In this conversation you have with me, does it seem like it made any sense? But I'm kind of level headed, and I didn't really lose my cool in that situation. Some people aren't really built like that, and I think Tyreek off the rip was putting himself in a situation where you're inconvenienced. I get it. He's calling his agent, yo, just keep the window cracked. That way, there's no justification for the behavior, because in the eyes of the law, a cop can say, "Oh, I felt unsafe because he kept putting the window up, and that's why I demanded he get out of the car." Now, all the other jumping on his back and pulling him down and
that was just extra.
All that was just extra.
So do you think those cops should be fired?
I don't know if they're gonna get fired, but it definitely should be. It should be considered like, you couldn't handle a 10:30 Sunday morning traffic stop. Like, your emotions couldn't.
In the lane that leads to the stadium, like this lane is set up for me to get to work.
You're there. If you see a Rolls Royce, a Range Rover, and a Ferrari coming down this lane, it's probably highly paid defensive tackle, highly paid tight end, highly paid wide receiver, maybe a quarterback. You know it's not somebody lost and brand new Rolls Royces coming down the lane to the stadium. You know why you're there. Like, how do you lose sight of what you're doing there? So, like, I think that's probably should be considered as far as those guys. Like, yo, you should be better at your job at this point in time than you are per that situation. Like, that's 10:30 on a Saturday morning. You just cuffing people.
Yeah, I would imagine that you're in that area because you're allegedly one of the best of the best, right? Like, I'm gonna send my best referee to referee.
You're aware of why you're there. Like, that's at a minimum. It's like, you know who's coming through here. It's not like it's a bunch of foot traffic. And like, I keep it real. It's like, you can't, and also like, I get it. You could tell if somebody's speeding, but you can't like pull somebody. You can't justify like, oh, I think he was going 60. You can't think somebody.
Yeah, you just go to court and get that thrown out.
Exactly. So you know why you were there. You know what the lane situation was. And like I said, I don't even think they were, like I said, rookies would have definitely not gotten that opportunity. But like I said, you know what you're there for. You know why you're assigned to that space. You know, police it accordingly. Your whole job is to probably keep other people from trying to sneak into the stadium early. So, yeah, like, I don't think they're going to get fired. Somebody's one of the guys is on administrative leave, and probably a couple more. I can imagine that the reports don't match up with the body cam story, which is standard, and that's why it's odd that these guys are wearing body cams and still behaving like this. That part is more baffling to me. It's like, yo,
because it's a culture, you know, like it's a culture that they always talk about. The police are the good guys. When we were little kids, the police are the good guys, officer friendly, all that good stuff. But now as adults, it's like, yo, but who's policing the police? because the mayor can't do it, even though the mayor owns the police to some. I mean, that's the wrong word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The mayor is the police's boss, but
The governing
mayor
body,
can't go too far because mayor want to stay mayor. You know what I mean? And then if you're on the force, you either want to stay on the force or you want to stay alive because snitches get stitches.
Listen, they need to stop this policing for profit with these tickets. That's all it is. I dare
Good luck
you
with
to
that.
go out right now and drive on the interstate and have a police vehicle pass you. I guarantee you they're doing above the speed limit without their sirens on. Driving through the city. Like, I'm not trying to knock them. Like, who's going to pull me over? So they don't really care that much about speed. Like, Hannibal Buress had a great joke. He's like, I don't believe it. I don't like speeding tickets. He's like, how are you going to tell me? He's like, how'd you speed up to catch me to tell me don't do that?
Yeah, it's like, yo, you know how fast you were going? You were going 80 at a 65. How fast were you going?
Going to catch me. So it's like, I mean, I get it. Like, police, but like the whole tickets and like I said, the whole Utah's thing is you blew $10,000. It has nothing to do with safety. It's nothing to do with a concern for people. It's literally they are telling you, we want to take your money for this DUI. It doesn't say there's no safety stats. There's no, hey, 1 in 8 drivers who get in a car accident kill someone. None of that information is on that billboard. The billboard is you just blew $10,000. So stop trying to police for profit.
I remember we used to have to update the board every day on base.
Yeah,
how many DUIs? Yeah.
I was in the 52nd Fighter Wing. We couldn't get past 37 days. They stopped doing it. It's like it's just a waste of time. We're getting one once a week. But like those stats, those are things that you should be concerned with. Like, listen, every accident where one of the drivers is impaired, 1 in 8 accidents, a person dies. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but that would resonate more with people if you're really trying to get the message about don't drink and drive, not you blew $10,000. But once again, that's the culture of, like, literally, dude pulled me over. It's people zooming by. I'm like, I am stone cold sober. You wasted 35 minutes of my time and your time hoping that I was drunk. He talked to me, asked me questions. I didn't slur my words, made eye contact, and he still pulled me out of the car, did the whole thing, leaned in because your eye jumps if you've been drinking. He did the whole thing. I'm looking up at him like, man, you could have just wrote me this ticket for doing 80 and 65, got you a little $125 and going about your day. But instead, because you wanted more money, because obviously if you're talking to me and I'm sober, you know what a sober person sounds like. Why does it smell alcohol? I'm like, you got your head in the passenger side window. Like, I was driving 2 people and they're the passenger side. Like,
all right. So now we go from somebody telling stories about being drunk or not to somebody who feels like they're drunk.
2 of the careers.
So I feel sorry for this guy, man. Like I know I made a joke and everything, but
that would give anybody a concussion.
But the problem with Tua is not, that he got a concussion. This is like number 4, number 5 for him. And they've been pretty bad. Like the one against Cincinnati, I thought on Thursday. Unfortunately, this keeps happening on Thursday Night Football too. But, the game against Cincinnati, I thought his career was over at that point. Like that one was really bad. The way he fell back, arms locked up, and I was surprised that he came back, because he had more than one concussion in that season. And that was what got the whole conversation started about.
Oh, that's when his back seized up.
Right. Exactly. And that's where we were wondering, it was his career over at that point, so, prayers out to him, hopefully he can recover from this. And I don't even mean come back to the football field, but, just hopefully the dude can live as normal a life, as he can. Because, I mean, if it were up to me, I would just shut him down. If somebody had the ability to do a such thing, I would just shut him down. You love football, come out here and be a coach or something.
I wouldn't. I think, one, I believe I saw Chris Lindstrom for the Falcons. I think he took a knee to the face mask on like a run play, like he was blocking. He took a knee. I believe someone in the Jets game might have taken a knee to the face mask. and I believe the independent doctors called down for them as well. Damar Hamlin just came in, he closed in, and he slowed down when Tua was diving, and he took a knee to the side of the head. I think that would have given anybody a concussion. I don't think he got that concussion because of Tua. Like I said, Chris Lindstrom, offensive guard, I think he had the same thing happen, and he was laying down. He wasn't even running.
No, I don't want him to retire because he got hurt. I want him to retire because of the number of concussions that he's had. Like if this was his first or second, so be it. But
the last one was 2022. That's documented that we saw. That was the Bengals game. He went a whole year last year, didn't have one. And this year it was just a bad angle. Like he dove and took a knee to the side of the head. I don't think Tua has more concussions than any other player. I think he just looks so slight. He looks like Bryce Young. Like they look like small guys. I'm pretty sure Josh Allen's taken a lot of hits and he's hit that sideline very hard a lot of times. But Josh Allen looks like a statue falling over. Cam Newton probably had a lot more concussion-like symptoms, but he's such a big guy, it doesn't look the same. Tua, it just looks different. And like the whole rigor mortis with his arms, when that happens, that is frightening. But he got up, he walked off the field in his own power. He's probably going to clear concussion protocols. I imagine that their next game being, a longer, like a mini bye, like 10 days from now.
Yeah.
I imagine they sit him out.
Oh, hell no. They better not think about playing him next week. No way. No way.
And he comes back week 4.
No way. No way. I'm thinking at least 2 to 3 games. I've heard different ranges from 2 to 3 weeks to 8 to 12 weeks.
Yeah, but that's from people who are outside. If he clears concussion protocol, then there's nothing.
Well, a lot of that are not from people within the Dolphins organization, but these are people who look at brains for a living.
Yeah, but doctors always err on the side of caution.
Yeah, and
we were on. Yes, and. Remember when you're active duty, you'd go to the clinic and say, "Hey, my knee hurts," and they'd be like, "All right, you can still do the PT test." But then you go to an off-base, ortho specialist, and you tell them, "Oh yeah, my knee's always clicking." Well, half the military, our knees click when we walk. When they like, "Oh my god." And then they do the MRI and they do all the scans and they tell you all these things are wrong and they give you a list and they give you a brace and they give you backup appointments. And the med group doesn't do that. The med group's going to look, okay, yeah.
Because they want you to get back to work.
They want you to get back to work. I think the team doctor they'll consider. I personally think
that's what I'm saying. But that's where the coaches or whoever has to step in. Because like Mike McDaniel made the comment about how I told Tua that he needs to go be the quarterback for his family.
Yeah.
And that's the correct answer. Like, just take some, even if you feel healed, just take an extra few games off because we're talking about like your brain. We're not talking about, oh, you hurt your elbow or you hurt your shoulder. Like we're talking about the thing that makes you function from head to toe. Like that needs to be okay before you step back on this football field.
And with the NFL and their lawsuits and all the rule changes and the helmets and the Guardian helmets, I guarantee you the protocols are probably definitely more stringent than they were in 2010, 2000, and 1990. So the whatever he's going to go through over the next however many days. Before then, that was out there, but everything that he's going to go through over the next few days, he's gonna have, like I said, 10 days between the last game and their next game. I would expect him to be listed as questionable for week 4, but maybe I want to say public pressure or public. I'll say pressure. I'll go public pressure. They probably hold him out for a couple of games, but Tua's not missing more than 2 games. They just I'm not sure. Like let's keep it economic. They just paid him $212 million. $124 million is guaranteed if he's forced to retire. Right. So I don't think they're going to hold him out for X amount of games, which makes it look like he should be retiring, and then have to still give him $124 million. Right. Like we gave you 220 or 212. You're going to play for the 212. And I'm pretty sure Tua is going to want to do the same thing. I'm not saying that you got to let a man go out on his shield. You got to give him an opportunity to play. And if he's healthy and he can go per the independent neurologist, a backup, and then the specialist that they go see in Pittsburgh and Detroit or wherever. Like I think there's a couple of specialists that guys in the NFL go to. If he's clear, he's gonna play.
I know.
Just don't dive head first.
I know. So now to the business side of things, now that Tua has this injury, do you think there are any teams that benefit more than others that he's going to miss a few games?
Buffalo benefits substantially. Case in point, last night, Josh Allen, I think he threw 19 and 20 some passes, maybe. He didn't run that much. His hand is in an offensive lineman's glove with two fingers taped together. He's going to be, so they're 2-0.
Yeah.
Miami's 1-1. The Patriots are 1-0. Jets are 0-1. Those two teams play each other next week. I mean, Buffalo could get this mini bye, play their next game week 3, be 3-0. I can't imagine Tua playing this Miami's next game, so I'm gonna go ahead and book Miami for 1-2.
Okay.
The Jets or the Patriots are probably going to be 1-2 because they play each other next week. So it's like I think the Bills are just going to get. The Bills are probably going to end up with 4-5-0, 3-game lead after 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And if
speaking
of
New
England's not winning games,
well,
the Jets are gonna fall apart. Like the Jets probably expect that they're gonna win more. So I think the entire AFC East has the potential to just kind of, I won't say implode because I think that might be a little too strong for 2 weeks into the season. But Buffalo's definitely ascended. Like my number one seed of Miami going 13-4, I'm gonna have to rethink that because, like I said, I can see him being ready in 17 days, but him not playing for 24 days.
And y'all see this Dallas Mike, aka Dakota Mike, to pick the Pats to win the division. So he thinks that the Pats benefit from this. And while y'all at it, make sure y'all check out the One Mike podcast too. You know what I'm saying? Like my man's was dropping some gems on us today. But like I don't know. Like, so I was thinking about this because Jacksonville, for example, they play Buffalo on Monday Night Football next week at Buffalo. So Buffalo gets a mini bye as well. And then, you got Jacksonville playing Houston the week after that. So, so Jacksonville will probably be the answer to the next question that I asked Mr. Logical. But as far as this goes, now if you're somebody like, say, the Chargers, do you see an opportunity now to get some wins? A team like Miami that was projected to finish ahead of you, even though they were probably projected to win the division by a lot of people, including both of us, they're going to fall back to the pack. So now when we hit week, say, 15 and everybody's got 14 games played, they're sitting at 8-6 or 9-5 and you're 9-5, you're in that race just because of this injury.
Yeah, and on top of that, Miami wasn't looking like the track team that they are. Like Tua already had 3 picks. Two of them were, one bounced off the guy's shoulder. I got the video game in the background here. That route, if I would throw that in the video game, and it hit him off his inside shoulder when he turned to look for the ball, and bounced straight up in the air and got intercepted because the guy didn't know the ball was coming. Like, what route you were running. Like, how deep do you think you need to get to run this route? Like, he turned his head and wasn't looking for the ball, so that bounced off his shoulder, got picked. Then he had to overthrow. So they weren't looking good already. And we talked about this last week with the I wouldn't say the bad quarterback play, but the rusty, not playing preseason games, how that week 1 felt like the extension of the preseason, guys getting together. Like Caleb Williams didn't throw for 100 yards. Dak was under 200 yards. I think Lamar and Mahomes went up. They went above their over under like 216, 225, 230, something like that. They both went up, above that number. But for the most part, a lot of guys didn't really look that good. So coming in, then Miami has a short week. I was betting under on Tyreek yard at 76. I was betting the under. Like, it just didn't look like he was going to get the ball. So now Tua being out for a couple of weeks, they still can't get that rhythm together. So even if he comes back in a couple of weeks, it still might take a game or two to iron out what was
Right.
potentially could have gotten ironed out in this break after this loss yesterday. So I think that's going to still like not have them in a position to be fifth, like last year where the AFC East came down to that last game. The winner won the division, the loser got fifth. I don't think Miami and Buffalo are going to be in that fighting for that this year because I think even after Tua comes back, like I said, I think he'll be ready in 17 days. But like I said, I imagine that they won't play him for a couple.
Right.
I think they got him maybe 2-3 games potentially. I think he'll be ready. I think he'll clear concussion protocol. He got up on his own power, walked off the field. I haven't heard any press conference or anything like that. I haven't had heard him speak since then, but he got up off the field. So I think the Chargers are probably sitting there thinking like maybe we can contend for the AFC West, but if not, I think they're still probably thinking they're sitting good at fifth because the AFC North, like a lot of those guys don't look as good either. So I think it just opened up. I think it blew up everybody's preseason, division winners. But
All right.
yeah,
Last question.
it had ramifications throughout the whole league.
Last question. Do you think Miami should consider a Michael Penix type move?
Like drafting a backup to their starter?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Doesn't necessarily have to be number 8. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wouldn't go 8. I don't know what the relationship is with Ryan Tannehill since he's left. He's available.
He's available. Trevor Simeon's available. Other than that,
you can leave Trevor Simeon where he's.
Yeah, other than that, you're going to have to trade. There's some Jarrett Stidhams out there. There's some Jameis Winstons out there.
Stidham might be a guy you can get for a 3rd or 4th round pick.
Probably Garoppolo's out in L.A. Carson Wentz over in Kansas City.
I mean, Garoppolo might not be a bad move. I doubt you'd be able to pry him from Los Angeles, but I think the way. I mean, he comes from that Shanahan system already. Mike McDaniel's already running. Get the ball to the playmakers. I think Garoppolo could do that. Garoppolo just can't get you. Garoppolo just won't make the big play when you need it. Down 4, you need a touchdown. He just won't. He just doesn't seem to have that big throw. Up 3, yeah, he'll keep that lead.
Yeah, he just Alex Smith with a George Clooney haircut.
Yeah, just more handsome Alex. Yeah, but they might have to do something, or maybe you go and you get a bigger back that you can, because you have these speed backs. A couple of them are kind of injury prone. Maybe you go pick up a bigger back and have this Skylar Thompson just throw maybe 28 passes, and then
watch the Skylar Thompson's university on TV right now. Kansas State with the 31-7 lead on Arizona. Shout out to UNLV, by the way, who just knocked off the Jayhawks. But now we're going to week 2. So here's a question. I remembered the other question I was going to ask you now.
All right.
I know this is a dumb question, but I'm just going to ask it anyway.
There we go.
Which 0-1 team cannot afford to go 0-2? Because last year there was only one team that went 0-2 that made the playoffs, which was the Texans.
It's a toss-up for me between the Bengals and the Jets.
Okay.
Mainly because of expectations. The Jets, if they go 0-2, that means Aaron Rodgers had 2 bad weeks in a row because you're playing the Titans. The Titans didn't look like they were a formidable opponent last week. Will Levis is kind of giving the ball away. So that would be a bad loss and an 0-2 loss in your championship aspirations, or at least the murmurs of championship aspirations that have been kind of floating around the Twitter sphere. I think that hurts because it starts to say, like, man, we were doing better with Zach. Like those thoughts could kind of matriculate through your building, and your building's not solid. The Jets facility is not solid. It's a lot of people who are just kind of, you can tell it's people walking around on eggshells. You can tell it's bad personnel moves. Nat Hackett is not built to be an offensive coordinator. He's not built to have headsets and calling plays in NFL games. He told everyone that when he hired another head coach to help him head coach. He didn't learn anything in that process before getting fired and then getting rehired without having he didn't even have like a remedial year where he had to go learn from somebody. He didn't go learn under like Kellen Moore or learn under like one of the Schottenheimers or
Go be
something
an
like
understudy.
that. Go be an understudy. You know what I mean? Go back to school. Like, I mean, that's all you gotta do. Sometimes you gotta go to summer school. Nah, he went straight from failing one class to AP classes. I'm like, yo, why you get that? How you get that gig?
Yeah.
And the Bengals, I think the Bengals, it'll be the same thing. Granted, it's the Chiefs, it's Arrowhead. It's gonna be a tough loss, but cap.
You weren't supposed to hear that. Hey, he's 3-1 against Patrick Mahomes. That's all I know.
Yo, that's dope, and I get it. I think that's great. I think that's a great stat to have. But that is pre-risk. I can't pick up a bottle, and that's and like
all
I
right.
said,
Well,
like,
let's get to it.
Championship aspirations. I think those teams, those two, because they have problems. Because I think T. Higgins is not playing this week. He wants his money. Jamar Chase wants his money. You're a notoriously cheap team. You paid a lot of money to the quarterback who's injured. It's one of those things where the off the field stuff will feel as if it's attributed more to the loss than just simply X's and O's.
Well, see, it is more than that. It's not just T. Higgins. Logan Wilson is on the injury report. Amarius Sims still has that pec issue going on. So Cincinnati's just falling apart at the same time that their window is closing. But Jamar Chase, since you want to kick Justin Jefferson's ass, unquote, this is the week you earn your money then. This is the week that you go into Arrowhead and come out of there with 10 catches, 161 yards, and 2 touchdowns in a 10-point win.
Is Joe Burrow's wrist healthy? Because I know videos can be misleading.
Oh, the water cup, the water bottle gate.
And then when he picked the bottle up, I was like,
I thought he just tossed it to himself.
Nah, like he picked it up like from the top to where like I use this bottle. Like he
was flip cupping it.
Like he was gonna rotate his hand. Like see how you had it here? Like he reached down, like I think he wanted to do that. But when he couldn't, he just did this and like put it on his.
Well, I know I saw him in a few huddles, kind of like rotating it around and shaking it up, if you will.
Instead of being able just to grab it from the top, flip it, drink out of it.
So what you're saying is,
and with the flip and was like, put it down, then slid his hand down, and then took the drink.
So what you're saying is the Bengals gonna go 0-2.
I mean, it would going 0-1 to New England was a shock, but people will always say New England has a good defense. Losing to Kansas City is it's not like it's not like you lost to the Panthers in week 2. They're gonna if they lose to Kansas City at home, Super Bowl champion, best quarterback in the league, best coach comp.
Those all sound like excuses. The Bengals just aren't good.
No, they're not good, but I'm saying I don't think anyone's gonna really people shouldn't lose it if they lose to Kansas City, but the problem is they have so many things that are making the locker room somewhat volatile already that is going to exacerbate and make it seem like it's worse than just a second.
Well, besides the fact that we started off this conversation with Joe Burrow's 3-1 against Patrick Mahomes. So there are, people out there that feel, hey, if you're a Bengals fan, and why not? Hey, we're going to win this game. We show up for Kansas City.
Yeah, and that's all well and good. The problem is, for instance, I'll give you an example. Like tonight, my son's football team. These kids been playing football together. Like the core group of the starters are sophomores and juniors. They played together on a championship youth team in 2016, and pretty much as they all kind of grown up in age, they've been on teams together from 2016 till now. So they were down 14-7 at halftime because of a turnover that happened with less than 2 minutes ago in the first half. So my son said he told the quarterback they've been on teams together since they were in 2016. Like, listen, man, we've been down before. We've done this. We've been down on this field as junior Greyhounds. Let's go out here and win it as varsity players. And like all the young sophomore kids that played together, all of them just bonded together and they just made play after play after play because inside the locker room, they understand, like, yo, I got you. We've been doing this. We've done this before. It's not a selfish thing. Like, listen, we've been on this field down at halftime in the rain in November before, and we came out and won. And they came out in the second half and completely dominated. I think the four biggest plays were by like that core sophomore group, sophomore junior group, and then it got sealed by junior with the interception at the end of the game. I don't know if Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and T. Higgins are on that same we can go get this kind of feel. Like I told you before, we talked about the money. You know, if you pay me, I might play with a shoulder injury. I might play through this knee pain. But if you're going to franchise tag me, I don't think I can go with this ankle. Okay. I think this turf goes like, but like I said, that comes along with the off the field stuff translating to on the field disaster.
All right, so I'm going Kansas City.
Oh, absolutely.
And I imagine that we're both going Chargers over Panthers.
Yes.
You know, the Chargers, 176 rushing yards last week. The Panthers gave up 4 yards more than that. I know you told us the Bengals wasn't going to make the playoffs, but I said it too. You weren't alone on that island, Mike.
That boy got the bands in the profile picture.
You know what I'm saying? I see you, though. You know what I'm saying? But Ravens and Raiders, it's time to unleash the king. Derrick Henry last week, 3 less carries than Lamar Jackson. I think that changes this week, obviously. Last week, the Ravens sacked Patrick Mahomes twice, hit him 7 more times. Gardner Minshew is going to be in for a hell of a day.
Absolutely.
So I'm going Ravens. But, as the great Lee Corso would say, closer than the experts think. So I think the Raiders are a tough team. Antonio Pierce, they play hard for him. They just don't have the tools right now outside of Devontae Adams.
They don't have the playmakers to make up for. Baltimore is going to probably score in their first 4 drives. I've given Baltimore about 17 points. I got 2 touchdowns and a field goal. The Raiders don't have the firepower. Like even with Devontae Adams, it only works if some other guys can make plays on the other side, because I can just double them. You can just double them. And Baltimore, they drafted another corner out of Clemson. So it's like, you didn't even need him. Now we're just going to put him over, underneath of Devontae and then, Humphrey over top. It's like, it's going to be so hard to get him the ball. Gardner Minshew is a bit of a loose cannon sometimes. He's fun. I like his personality. But, yeah, the Raiders one of those teams they're going to play hard, but it's going to
and I've been talking about it, and I've been talking about it all off season, and we saw it last week. The Ravens had to replace 3 starters on their offensive line. So the Raiders are going to cause havoc. They're just not good enough to win, in my opinion. All right, let's take it out to the desert. The Rams have not lost to the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona since 2014, when they were still the St. Louis Rams. They've won 13 out of the last 15 against the Cardinals. Make it 13 out of 16. I'm going with the Cardinals.
Really?
I'm going with the Cardinals.
And I get, I probably should have tracked down maybe the quote from Kyler Murray when they were talking about it. It's not his job to get
Marvin Harrison Jr. Or Harvin Marison. We don't say that name on the show.
So he.
No, it ain't even that, bro. I'm trying not to get shot. Hey, you said it earlier, right? You got to get home and value your life. I'm not trying to.
Yeah, he out here somewhere still shooting people in his gold jacket. I don't like the way Kyler Murray handles adversity at all. I've never heard him say anything well, one thing I heard him say that was kind of like to combat people saying like he never really handles things when he kind of ran off his stats from high school through college, and I'm like, okay, I like that little a little dig he gave to the media, but a lot of times I just don't like the way he handles situations. He handles situations like a brat. Like I want you to be up there. Like Kirk Cousins might shit the bed again this week. Dak Prescott, might have a couple 100 yards passing. Those guys really handle the podium differently. And I wish guys would just look around. CJ Stroud at the podium, even in his second year, I guarantee you he handles every situation like that better. When they were 0-2, he didn't say anything outrageous. Like the way we're going to talk about college football later, Shador Sanders, the way he threw his line under the bus. I want you to handle the podium better. You're the face of the corporation, no matter how you like to slice it. You got to handle it better. You got a rookie, and you're telling people publicly it's not my job to be in the ball. And like Keyshawn Johnson, like I like everything he says. Like, you know what? It is your job. You need to be going to the offensive coordinator. It's like, listen, put him in this formation so I can get this look. I think we can get this if you put him here. Like, that's your job as the quarterback.
I don't feel like they put him in a position. I don't feel like they put Marvin in a position to be successful last week. It was a lot of like short hitch type route.
The quarterback is short-sighted. Pause. Like, no pun intended. Like, I just don't think he sees. I don't think he sees the game to where it benefits other people. I think he plays selfishly. It's weird. It's like a weird ego thing. I don't like it. I don't like the way he handles his position as the starting quarterback. Like I just think it just it just speaks to like how bad of a contract he has. I think people forgot it because now everyone's getting these crazy gaudy $50 million contracts. He got over $200 million. He had 2 years left on his deal. He scrubbed his Instagram. He wasn't studying. It wasn't like he was getting any better. I don't know. I just feel like
speaking of his contract,
I don't like his talent versus tolerance is just.
Speaking of his contract, if you were in a Call of Duty tournament, who you want, Kyler Murray or Bronny James?
Some Korean kid.
All right. So yeah, I'm picking the Cardinals. Obviously, Puka Nacua is out, but the Rams may also be down 3 offensive linemen as well. So I'm going to take the Cardinals at home in a mild upset. And, and that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. If the Rams start 0-2, y por besito. I'm just saying. So then we take it down to Dallas Mike's neck of the woods, down into Jerry World, where the New Orleans Saints are coming through with the big bad win over the Carolina Panthers. They're coming into Dallas with some momentum. Dallas, of course, took care of Cleveland. 6 sacks against Cleveland. Last year, Dallas had 6 20-point wins at home. So, Mr. Logical.
That's the craziest stat you probably said all month.
So that's
crazy. This NFL 20-point wins. That's crazy.
So can you see a world where the Saints go in and win this game?
If their defense is as relentless against Derek Carr as was against Deshaun Watson, then no. But apparently Deshaun Watson, they did like some analytical analysis, and essentially, like, I guess all the sacks were technically his fault because like he didn't do something right. Like he didn't get rid of the ball, or he missed the open receiver and end up getting sacked. But if they can pressure Derek Carr, because Derek Carr doesn't move as well as Deshaun Watson, and then they got to him 6 times, a guy who was pretty mobile. Even if you're bad at quarterback, he still can move. So I can see a situation where Dallas is just overwhelming New Orleans.
Yeah, give me Dallas and the points. I'm laying the points. I think I saw it at 6. I want the points, and the Cowboys are going to win this game. Like Carolina formed no match for the Saints, and I think that a lot of people are overreacting. Because I mean, granted, Even though Carolina,
like that's Carolina.
well, like that's what I was just about to say. Like Carolina, since I thought that the Saints and Carolina were pretty close, and obviously the Saints put an end to all that, So maybe the Saints come in a little overconfident. No Lattimore. We'll just have to see, or he might be playing, but he's definitely injured in, But one of my games of the week, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Mr. Logical's new MVP pick, Baker Mayfield, going into Ford Field as the Lions continue their tour of playoff rematches.
Yeah.
And granted, they granted they do close the season with the 49ers as well. So the Lions are going to get all of their playoff rematches this year. But Mr. Logical, I know you said you think Baker's going to keep it going. Does that mean
they beat Detroit in Detroit now? Nah, I don't think that.
No.
I saw something that was about the Lions playing in those all blue uniforms at home, so their safeties could blend in with the wall.
Oh, they try to get the Boise effect.
Yeah, so they like the players blended with the wall. I just like Detroit. I like them at home. I like the culture they built. As far as like being that the tough team, and tough teams play you tough when you come to their building. I think that bravado will. Baker had a great game last week, and you've talked about it for the last couple of years. And we've been talking about the Commanders and the lack of the secondary and their lack of ability to cover. So that could be part of it. But to go 24 for 30, it still takes a lot in the NFL. Like that's. I don't know how his pass rating wasn't perfect, by the way. He went 24 for 30, like 279 yards with 4 touchdowns, and his pass rating still was like 147. It's like, what do you have to do to get a 158.3? Like, I mean, I don't know if you can have a more perfect game than only 6 passes right hit the floor and 4 touchdowns. So you had 6 incompletions and 4 touchdowns. To me, that's a perfect game. You're not going to get that against Detroit. Aiden Hutchins is not going to let you get that off. Like you might go 21 for like 33, something like that, 205 yards, maybe a couple of TDs, but you gotta have a turnover in there just because the way the way he comes off the edge, they put him in space, the way they address their cornerback and defensive backfield woes in the draft. I just think that playing at home, the tough team, the playmakers on offense, Jameson Williams is going to get the lot. Him and Xavier Worthy are going to be like those guys that get you those 3rd and 6 or 1st and 10 under 20. Let's see what we can get. Now you got a 45-yard reverse just out of nowhere. Like he's going to give you those kind of splash, amazing plays.
Yeah. So Tampa to win this game, I feel like they have to do something that they are not equipped to do. They got to hold on to the ball. Bucky Irvin came in last week, rookie out of Oregon, 6.9 yards per carry, and he doubled the yards that Rashard White had rushing on 6 less carries. So Tampa needs to be able to run the ball because my favorite player in the whole NFL, Antoine Winfield, is out for a few weeks. On top of that, you got Zion McCollum, with a concussion. Bryce Hall is out for the year with a dislocated ankle. So what I'm saying is the secondary is fucked. And Jared Goff played like shit last week. And now he's going up against a damaged secondary. Back-to-back games at home. You're in trouble, Tampa.
Washington secondary look against Baker. So, yeah, Jared Goff might have one of those 24 for 28, 4 touchdown games.
Yeah, you're in trouble, Tampa. But the good news is Detroit's secondary is still working out some things. I did like
Arnold got a couple of bad pass interference calls. I don't think I saw both of them. I didn't think they were pass interference.
Yeah, and I like him, but Detroit's secondary still needs to work out some kinks as well. So we'll see. We'll just have to see. Then, for the, I guess we ain't going to talk about this game that much, but give me the Colts over the Packers.
Yo, I was watching Rich Eisen earlier. and he said, "What's more what's more? What are you gonna get more of? Anthony Richardson 50-yard completions or Malik Willis touchdowns?"
Damn. That's fucked
The
up.
boy don't throw the ball. He doesn't throw the ball like he got drafted. I wish him luck, but hopefully get the ball to playmakers and see what happens. Anthony Richardson was like 9 for 19 for 230 yards. So
I
like
know it looked like
it's
Madden,
feast or
right?
famine. It's feast or famine. Like we going deep or it's incomplete.
Right. And, he even outrushed Jonathan Taylor last week. So, that seems to be the common thing. These quarterbacks outrushing the running backs early on in the season.
Because like I said, they don't play a lot of preseason. He's a young quarterback. They said the same thing about guy Jaden Daniels. Just
Oh, snap.
he probably has one or two reads.
Going with the Packers,
like,
huh?
It's not there. I'm going for it.
All right.
I don't I like defense, but at some defense can put you in position to score. Defense rarely gets you like 14 points. It's not like a common thing. Like
unless you're Iowa,
and then like the Bears. You gotta have a guy that's gonna sling the rock and get you points.
All right. So one of the hardest games of the week for me to pick. Cleveland at Jacksonville. Jacksonville with the heartbreak last week, 17-7 lead against Miami. Then they went into the second half and got one first down in the whole second half. So it was the reverse of what they did to the Chargers.
How that happened. Yeah, it's strange to me how like you get.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said that wrong. My bad. They had no third down conversions in the second half. One first down in the whole second half. That's what I was trying to say. But anyway, so remember my prediction about Doug Peterson being the first coach to be let go this season. And, you want to jumpstart that, lose to Cleveland. After that game Cleveland came off of last week. Deshaun Watson allegedly has videos out here that might get released if the NFL doesn't play ball with the latest accuser. So, you got all this going on, distraction, like the Browns are a mess. But for some strange reason, when I love hard. So I'm taking the Browns to win this game.
You're out of your mind.
I'm taking the Browns defense, as Dallas Mike said, to suffocate the Jags. Myles Garrett coming up the middle in your face.
The Browns quarterback has forgotten how to play quarterback. He forgot. He's completely fallen off a cliff. And it was like he came back better from ACL injuries earlier on in his career, where he didn't know much about what's going on and was missing time and came back better. Then he's coming back from like just sitting. Like he looks like, and I said this last year, it looks like he just does not have the fire to play football. This time
either way it goes
is cutting him off. And I don't know. I just think that you shouldn't get sacked 6 times when you're a mobile quarterback outside the pocket. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. You should get rid of the ball. I think Jacksonville's going to get after him.
Yes.
Jacksonville's going to get after him. I believe Dougie P. I know you got Doug Peterson on the block. I don't, because I think the contract that Trevor just signed, I don't think you as an organization want to hinder that and essentially waste a year, because it's not often interim coaches come in that's on the staff of the guy you fire and they get exponentially better. I know the Raiders had.
I was just about to say. Remember when the Raiders messed it up and didn't hire their guy?
They didn't get better. They just went like 3-3 in the last 6 games. It wasn't like
which was better.
It was like
just like Antonio Pierce, right? He didn't make the playoffs last year. He was just better than Josh McDaniel.
But that's the thing. They still were like sub 500. They still.
Hey, the Raiders made the playoffs that year, though.
That was the year that
they lost to Cincinnati in the first round.
Yeah, the Chargers were going to go for the tie.
Right,
and they
right.
Would have made the playoffs.
Yeah, your boy Staley.
They got it. That was 9-8.
Hey, I'm just saying.
9-8.
I'm just saying.
8-1.
So that's the matchup of the former Clemson national title quarterbacks. Now we take it to I Spy. This is the I Spy game of the week because Sam Darnold was a 49er last year. So therefore, he knows the ins and outs of the 49er system. But Kyle Shanahan knows the in and out of Sam Darnold. So I'm going to take the 49ers in this game. I do think that Flores' defense will keep it close. But I can't think about this game without thinking about that touchdown Jordan Addison had against the 49ers last year on Monday Night Football when he took the ball away from Ward and took it to the house. That's in my head, So we'll see if Jordan Addison plays this weekend. The 49ers held the Jets to 266 yards, last week. But the one name I want to keep an eye on is Andrew Van Ginkel. He had a pick six against the Giants. So, I think he's going to make an imprint on this game one way or the other. And yes, Minnesota did beat San Francisco last year, but that was with Kirk Cousins. So,
and I think Purdy played pretty bad that game. That was the stretch. That was that three-game
losing streak.
After they had won 5 games, and I think after that 3-game, they won 5 more in a row. Yeah, give me San Francisco.
Yeah.
Easy in that one.
All right. Then Dallas Mike's new team, the Patriots, at Foxborough playing host to the Seahawks. No Kenneth Walker III out for the second straight year he's not out for the season, but this is the second straight year he's had this oblique injury or something along those lines. So he's out, so enter Zach Charbonnet, Dallas's Mike guy from Michigan, who I like better than Kenneth Walker anyway, but they're going into Foxborough. New England got the big win against Cincinnati last week. What you say, Mr. Logical?
This is tough because...
Yeah, this was my second hardest game to pick.
Because I think Geno's been around the block. I think they have faith in him in Seattle. I think he can make plays. DK Metcalf is a cheat code. And I just don't know why he's not... I don't know why we don't see more highlights from him.
Because he doesn't have a good quarterback.
But just throw it up. 6'3", 240. I don't know what corner. I guess Christian Gonzalez is going to match up with them. Then you have Smith and Jigba, and then you have Lockett. So you have weapons in Seattle. And I'm gonna go with Seattle. I'll just be real. I think Cincinnati might be. I think Cincinnati's quarterback injury might have played a bigger role in the Patriots' victory, not necessarily the Patriots' defense. I think it just might have just been he probably wasn't. He probably isn't 100%. So I'm gonna give them credit for not making it easy on him. But I'm gonna say that the potential injury to Joe Burrow is still kind of lingering. I don't know if Jacoby Brissett makes enough plays to go back and forth with a healthy quarterback and healthy, that wide receiver core is just their matchup nightmare because Lockett gets open and they move him around. DK with just size. I get that you can put Christian Gonzalez on him, but
and don't forget Jackson Smith and Jigba.
You got it. Someone's got it. So I just think that Seattle will make a couple extra plays that gets.
Yeah, I think Seattle makes one more play in this NFL version of Iowa versus Iowa State.
I think 20-13 Seattle makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, something along those lines. I can see that. All right, now you remember a few minutes ago, I said when I love hard.
Yes.
And I'm about to prove it again.
No way.
Here it comes. I'm not trying to bring feelings to a fact fight. Give me the Titans. Jets going 0-2. And this is a must-win game for the Jets, in my opinion, like we talked about, because they went to the West Coast last week. They're coming back to Cashville this week. And then they turn around Thursday night for a division game against New England.
I think Will Levis throws 2 pick sixes.
He might throw 2 pick sixes, but that still ain't going to be good enough because Aaron Rodgers, you know what I'm saying? He ain't going to throw 2 pick sixes, but is he going to hit 200 yards?
If they threw the ball to the right, they threw like 75% of his passes.
And Will Levis will be all right. DJ Reed might not play.
I don't think Will Levis is a starting quarterback. He had the one game against Atlanta's defense because there's no pass rush.
4 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns, and then he
To the
played
same
how many more
dude.
games? And he had 8 total touchdowns.
Yeah, he had 9 total touchdowns on the season.
And he had 4 in one game. And they shipped guys off. They fired coaches. They did all this stuff to give Will Levis. And every game he's over on the sideline yelling like he's Tom Brady. I'm like, calm down. I know Tom Brady gave him a stamp of approval in this offseason. I think they're part of that same kind of, quarterback camp. And they're like, certain groups of quarterbacks kind of work together, share tips, so forth and so on. I think Will Levis is in like his good graces. You're not Tom, homie.
Now I'm excited.
Time is being coached by Mike Vrabel. That's about it.
L'Jarius Sneed against Garrett Wilson. Sign me up. So I'm definitely here for that matchup. You got Sauce.
Lazard is still Aaron. We know Aaron is. I know Aaron's has some public relationships that seem to go by the wayside. But when he loves a wide receiver, he loves the way you love the Titans and this playoff pick that you're sticking to. He loves Alan Lazard.
Well, let him have fun. He can love this L too.
Loving drawing people off sides. And what happened when they drew San Francisco off sides? Who ran the route that Aaron loves? Lazard. Who got the touchdown? Lazard. Who got yelled at on the sideline? Garrett Wilson. So, I'm no relationship expert, but I do know 8 loves 10. He's tolerating 5.
Give me the Titans.
I'll take the Jets.
And Unk is here just in time. Going out to Mile High, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Denver Broncos with an over/under of 36.5. That still might be too much. But what I'm looking forward to in this game, damn, Mike, for real? Just like the whole L'Jarius Sneed against Garrett Wilson thing. I am here for the renewal of the college rivalry between George Pickens and Patrick Surtain II. I am here for that matchup. That's going to be the matchup that decides the game. Can Bo Nix throw the ball more than 10 yards? Is Sean Payton going to let him? Do they need to with Justin Fields on the other sideline? I have no idea who's really going to win this game. I'm going with the Steelers just because I don't believe in Bo Nix at all. You're probably going with the Steelers because you don't think Sean Payton should be a coach in this league.
I'm going, feelings aside, Bo Nix is going to be wearing 90 all game. He's going to be all over him all game because there's not a lot of guys like TJ Watt in the league. Even JJ doesn't do what TJ does. Myles Garrett, defensive player of the year, doesn't do what TJ does. Hutchinson's a little bit of that. Micah Parsons a little bit, but Micah Parsons for some reason doesn't. I don't know what their measurements are, but I just feel like when I see TJ play, I think he's bigger than Micah Parsons, but he does everything that Micah Parsons does as far as dropping the coverage, getting interceptions, getting tips on screen passes, slant passes. Like he just does so much.
You remember that Monday night game against the Browns last year
when it just kept giving the ball back to their offense. Like, listen, we gave you the ball back. Go out there and do something.
Yeah,
you did. Here, we got y'all the ball back. Go back out there and do something. All right, cool. We got y'all the ball back, and we at the inside of the 10-yard line. Y'all going to do something? I just feel like Bo Nix, the whole check down Charlie situation he had going on.
I agree.
Pittsburgh figured that out, and he's going to have to go over the top. He's going to have to take that shot, and I'm not sure
he can't do it.
that it's going to land. So
yeah, give me the Steelers 9-3. You know what I'm saying? And then, hey, allow me a moment to embarrass myself real quick.
Let's go.
I am so ashamed to be a fan of a team that is 1-5-1 against Daniel Jones.
That is the most unheard of thing I've ever.
That's
a real stat. That's a real stat.
That's a real stat. Daniel Jones is 5-1-1 against the Commanders. / that other name. He has 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in his career against this team, which is crazy considering that he's never thrown for 25 touchdowns
That's the
in a
equivalent
season.
of Joe Burrow being 3-1 against Kansas City.
That probably is. That probably
That's
is.
how good that is for him.
So this is a game. This is a measuring stick for both teams, even though both teams are awful. Because the Giants have to prove that they're not a dumpster fire, Nanny Nichols, as I like to call them. The Commanders have to prove, hey, we went out and got this head coach. Our defense can stop a team that we should stop. Jaden Daniels better not rush the ball 16 times this week. Deontay Banks, University of Maryland and all that, out here screaming, fuck the Commanders. So you know what? It's about time that the Giants get their comeuppance, because last year, somehow, they swept us even with Danny DeVito's son playing quarterback. So I'm looking for the Commanders to win this game. I'm looking for, Jalen Hyatt to make an appearance against this bum-ass secondary in Landover, though. So maybe we'll get to see that. But Washington, just run the damn ball, but not with the quarterback. And the truth shall set you free.
Sad news this game. I was supposed to be in the jet that's doing the flyover. They took me off. Legalities, they weren't sure. They didn't know who could give the approval, whatever the case may be. So unfortunately,
talk to that group commander.
Yo, they talked to the OG. They didn't talk to the wing. Someone probably gonna text me tomorrow. Say, oh, by the way, so and so said you're good to go. I'm like, listen, I'm already in AC 17 old fashions deep. I don't think I'm gonna make it 9:00 Sunday morning. But if that call does come, I will be. Hopefully, if it changes, then I'll be on the jet. If not, I think that we'll do it. Try it another time. But yeah, I was supposed to be on. It was gonna do the low flyover. It was gonna be dope.
Yeah. So just because of that, you gonna pick the Giants now?
Yeah, just because I haven't picked the Giants. No, I'm gonna pick the Giants because I think
look like you're thinking awfully hard.
I like what they do defensively. If Daniel Jones doesn't turn the ball over, I think the energy of the sideline stays where it needs to be for the defense to come back on the field. I know these are
if a crackhead didn't smoke crack, he'd be productive.
True indeed, but some of them can still change a carburetor. I just feel like sometimes, like, we see these games get out of hand. Case in point, the 70-20 game Miami put on Denver. At some point, it's like, am I really going to chase down HN when the score is 35-14 and he's clear? Like, nah, he's going to the house with that. And then it was 42. I'm like, yo, we're not winning this game. I can see that kind of, guys going out there, not really phoning it in, but just being like, if I can't get off this block, I can't get off this block, because it don't matter. Our quarterback keep throwing to the other team anyway. If he can keep that part from trickling into the sideline, I think they have a shot. I think they play well up front between Thibodeau and Burns. I like what they do in the defense. I think their defensive front is just solid enough to give the rookie quarterback, put him into a couple of positions where he makes some mistakes.
Fair enough.
And if he does, I don't know how often he slid, but you're not gonna make it very far in the NFL if you're running the ball 16 times when you're 6'4", 210.
Fair enough. And then on Sunday Night Football, we got a rematch of the Hall of Fame game. The Bears and Caleb Williams and his fingernails traveling to Houston to play the Texans. So you already know I'm picking the Texans. Hopefully Caleb Williams can have his first 100-yard game of his career. Not try to do too much.
If he was a running back.
I think the Bears will give the Texans some problems defensively. But I think that Carolina's going to be able to get out. Houston's going to be able to get after Caleb Williams. The question that I have, though, is Roma Dunze going to play? Is Keenan Allen going to play? Both on the injury report.
Said earlier this week that Dunze was going to play. They're just being, precautious.
I expect Keenan Allen
not here trying to Shanahan.
I expect Keenan Allen not to play because he's never there.
He was wide open a couple times and Caleb missed him.
But yeah,
I'll take Houston because Chicago is the carbon copy, at least what people are hoping of Houston. So Caleb started his career off 1-1. I think he passes the ball better. Hopefully they give him some more of that Bo Nick stuff. Like, listen, hit this check down, and then we'll go over the top. We know you have the propensity to go over the top. Let's just drag routes. Let's get you going super quick. And then take those shots. Instead of like you can't get a 19-yard loss in a sack. Don't ever do that again in your career.
Yeah. And just for a cleanup, Dalton Schultz is out for the Texans. Then, of course, on Monday night, I got the Eagles. The floor is yours, Mr. Logical.
You know what? I have a lot of things going against me as a Falcons fan to make this curtain prime time. We heard that traveling after the offense looked completely inept at home. Philly just has weapons at too many levels. You can't even if Jalen has a game like he had last week, they still scored 31 points with 2 bad turnovers. The defense held against a good Green Bay team that's kind of built. A lot of these new teams
414 yards they gave up.
They gave up a lot of yards. Bend don't break.
They held Green Bay to one out of 4 red zone drives for touchdowns.
I mean, they got half of the Georgia defensive front playing for them the last 2 championship games. Atlanta, ironically,
that's the problem for the Falcons.
Almost none. The Atlanta is right there. You can take an Uber to recruit, but yet you get
don't mention guys. Georgia and driving in the same sentence. We don't do that on here.
I say Uber. I say Charger. Just do an Uber. But yeah, I don't see a scenario where Atlanta, based on how they performed last week, I don't see a scenario where they go toe to toe with Philly.
Yeah, the problem with the Falcons is this is going to be played on a regular football field. Like, you know what I'm saying? You want to catch the Eagles on a shitty field. Yeah, there you go.
Slippery neutral site. Yeah, like I said, they still had 31 points, gave up a bunch of yards, still had 31 points. The tush push didn't work. They had turnovers. The coach is still, Sirianni, and they still put up 31 points and won. So, yeah, I head over heart, you got to be smart, and I'll take Philly.
So it's that time of the week, and just in case y'all don't believe me out there, y'all probably can't see. Hold on, let me get up in the light. Right here where my finger is, it says UNLV over Kansas. That was one of my upset picks. UNLV just pulled it out 23-20 over the Jayhawks in their soccer stadium. Then on a side note, UNLV might have the playoff in front of them. I know Mr. Logical said that Boise State was going to be his playoff representative from the G5, but Boise State has to travel to UNLV. UNLV has already beat Houston. They've already beat Kansas. That's 2 Big 12 wins. And they got Syracuse coming up in a few weeks, so they got a chance here. But yeah, that was one of my upset alerts. Another one, you're probably not surprised by this. Colorado State in Colorado. Yeah, there you go, Chad. There you go. On the same wavelength with me. There you go. Miami of Ohio.
Because I'm putting my parlay in, so keep going.
These are just the alerts, not the actual upset picks. But you got Miami.
I'm trusted.
Miami of Ohio, not to be confused with the Hurricanes, over the Cincinnati Bearcats. And Nevada over Minnesota. Those are my upset alerts. Now to the actual upsets that I'm picking. Sorry, SEC. I'm not trying to hate on you, I promise. Give me Toledo over Mississippi State.
Okay.
Florida, as much as I hate the Gators, give me the Gators over Texas A&M. And then for these next two, I'm gonna go back to the well one more week. Last week I took Washington State over Texas Tech. Give me Washington State in the Apple Cup over the Huskies. Last week I said UVA over Wake Forest. They got out of there with a 1-point win. I'm taking UVA over my Terps this week. And then my last two upsets. There's a place, college football fans know it well, known as Ross-Ade Stadium. Ask Ohio State about it. They know it very well. That is in West Lafayette, Indiana, the home of the Purdue Boilermakers. What I'm trying to say is, Notre Dame, you're going down again. And then, finally, in a much smaller upset, Rice over Houston for the second year in a row. So there you go. But let's get right to it. College game day down at Williams-Brice Stadium. Down in Columbia, South Carolina. Don Staley on set to be the celebrity picker. You got the LSU Tigers coming in. This is the first college game day for South Carolina since 2014. You got LSU coming in. This is going to be one of those games that defines a season in so many ways. If LSU loses this game, you might hear LSU fans say, it's time to go. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
Man, you should have been gone.
If South Carolina loses this game, it's just business as usual. Now, the problem is that South Carolina, Lenore Sellers, just can't take advantage of LSU's weakness, which is the secondary. But on the other side of the ball, this is where it gets interesting. South Carolina already has 10 sacks in their first two games, led by Kyle Kennard with 3 of those. Freshman Dylan Stewart with 2.5. So can South Carolina create pressure and keep that up because LSU has a top 5 offensive line in college football? So that's going to be the question. Here comes, ready for the pause moment. Can South Carolina, can the Cox penetrate? So that's going to be the question of the game. Now, I do think LSU wins this game, even though I am a little concerned. John Emery, their running back, is out for the season. They only ran for 64 yards against, wait for it, Nicholls State last week. A game that was 24-21 at one point against Nicholls State. So I don't know what to do with the spread on this game.
Brian Kelly cussed out the kicker. You're down so bad. Your lack of composure, control of your team is so just, you look in over your head, and he
welcome, Chad. Go Huskers.
Like I said, I don't think Nussmeier makes a lot of plays. I don't think Brian Kelly has the temperament of the team. I think they're out on him already. Like some of his comments post game, I just don't have a lot of buy-in.
I don't like the vibes.
Yeah, I don't think the fans really rock with him, and just X's and O's. Like you said, 60, less than 100 yards against a school that you have so much more talented in. Just to me, that's a coaching and preparation piece. And
yeah, well, remember when we did our preview,
I don't like the coach. I don't think as soon as he got hired, as soon as he left Notre Dame, I'm like, you're going from Notre Dame, where I think your talent, your net for talent spreads wider, and you could have probably pulled in the same type of talent you're getting at LSU. I know LSU might be easier because you have Texas, you have the South right there, and you could just kind of pull guys in from Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, whatever the case may be, and your recruiting might be a little easier. But with Notre Dame, you had bundles of money. You had so much money to get recruits, different camps, getting your coaches here, private jets. Like I just think you had a better recruiting network at Notre Dame, and you're going to get the benefit of the doubt if you're 12. No matter if you played 12, you could play the same team 12 times, and as long as you're 12-0 Notre Dame, you're going to get to the CFP. And so when he went to LSU, I was like, that's a bad move. Like you're not. That's not where you navigate. Then he had the fake accent and everything else when he was this press conference.
Pulling the camel, that's what we call that.
Yeah, so he was basically like he was on his way at the door from the time he signed, in my opinion. So I'm taking South Carolina at home. I would call it an upset, but like I said, I don't know. I just don't know. I just think that the horses at South Carolina.
As long as Jared Nussmeier has time, I think he's going to light South Carolina up. But we'll see. Then we're going to go out to Camp Randall, Madison, Wisconsin. The Alabama Crimson Tide actually going on a road game outside of the South, out of conference for the first time since 2011 when they went to Happy Valley. They're 16.5-point favorites. Now, this is the problem. I talked about it the other day. South Florida had Alabama on the ropes. It was a 14-13 game in the fourth quarter. South Florida didn't have a quarterback. Wisconsin has a quarterback if we could time travel back to 2021 when Tyler Van Dyke actually looked like a quarterback. So, that Tyler Van Dyke would have made this Alabama secondary his own delicatessen. You know what I'm saying? But now at this point, that Tyler Van Dyke is long gone. So I got a feeling like Alabama's going to cover this spread.
It always takes them a couple of weeks. Unless they play one of these big games off the bat. But granted, that was under Nick Saban for the last, decade plus. Mm-hmm. The last couple of years, they've always had like a couple of games where it's just like, why isn't this score 42-14? Like, why is it this close? Why is it this close? And then they come out the next game and they bust somebody ass 42-14. Like, oh, there we go. There's Alabama. I think this is that awakening game. 3 games into the season, you're lock, cock, ready to rock, and on the road, silence in the crowd. I think that's what you need. Sometimes you just need the unfamiliar territory to really get back to what you do.
Yeah, there was a line that Eminem had, saying nothing moves me more than a crowd or a group that boos me, like that. Sometimes you just need that. But, Wisconsin is also the first half going to be without Jack Chaney, their starting linebacker. So that's going to be tough navigating. He's suspended for targeting in the first half, and which I think is the dumbest rule. If you're going to suspend somebody, just suspend them. But I don't know, whatever. But
if you put in the second half of the previous game, you got to miss a whole game technically.
Yeah.
So you get ejected in the second half.
I get it.
They should. You already heard them for that one game. Like it shouldn't carry over. Like it shouldn't carry over to the next game.
So can Chez Malusi get loose against the Alabama defense? That's going to be the question. Like I said, can Tyler Van Dyke do anything? But where my main concern, if I do have a concern for Alabama, it's Jalen Milroe from the standpoint of outside of their SEC games, they don't typically go into these environments. They usually play these type of games at home. They play them at Jerry World, always some kind of neutral site. But Bama, you better bring your A game because 2 weeks away, you got Georgia calling. You
gotta let this be our breakout week 3 game. You're top 5 in the country. You're ironically probably the first year you're under the radar. Mm-hmm. Even at 4, I think people probably looking like 4. Should they be that high? Now it's like the Buffalo Bills. The expectations aren't as high because Nick Saban's gone. I think the expectations that you guys falter. So you're playing with house money, and you're playing a good team on the road. You just have to assert what you do best. Like, I mean, literally, the power you have in your offensive front, your defensive front, that in
lots of Justice Haynes. Lots of Justice Haynes.
Should just literally that should be what you rest on. Like, listen, we can run this ball 45 times if we want to.
Yep. And then I brought it up, Ross Aid Stadium, West Lafayette, Indiana. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish coming in. Of course, they play in South Bend, Indiana. So rivalry, little in-state thing going on. Riley Leonard, is unhealthy right now. Sounds like he's got a shoulder injury going on. So last I heard, it was still up in the air if he was going to play or not.
Yeah,
So,
they're waiting on that Twitter delivery.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. But one of the reasons that I like Purdue is, they had their opening season slaughter against Indiana State. But then for some strange reason, they had a bye week last week. So, I like Purdue coming off the bye. I think that even if Riley Leonard was healthy, Purdue has the better quarterback. Some of you may remember Hudson Card from the University of Texas a few years ago. He's the quarterback at Purdue. Coach Ryan Walters needs this win, especially when you're looking at a Big Ten schedule with, they play all the good teams, basically. So you got to get your win somewhere. This is a rivalry game for Purdue, but not necessarily Notre Dame. I think they're just going to want it more. No, what you got, Chad? What's these props looking like? But I'm glad you brought up Shador because we on the same wavelength, because that's the next game that I was going to bring up. Because why? It's personal. Last year we saw Travis Hunter leave the game with a lacerated liver after a dirty hit. We saw a game go to double overtime where Dion messed everybody's minds up because he didn't go on defense first in overtime. You got Colorado coming off of a bad loss to Nebraska. Not bad in the sense that they lost to a bad team, but bad and they just got their asses kicked. Shador throwing the offensive line under the bus. We got controversy. Did Dion tell the band not to play the school fight song, play Shador's song instead, which nobody wants to hear anyway? So now you got Jay Norvell leading Colorado State. And the game is in Fort Collins this time. Stand up, Fort Collins. Saying? Come join. And while we at it, Mr. Logical, I know you saw the news. Colorado State is one of the newest members of the Pac-12.
Oh, they moved up?
They moved up. So last week, 2.5 touchdowns. Oh, man. That's awful. That was from last week. But yesterday we got the news, or 2 nights ago, I was playing NCAA 25 at like 1 a.m, and I got an alert. Said Colorado State, Boise State, Fresno State, and I'm having a brain fart right now. Colorado State, San Diego State. There you go. Are joining the Pac-12 in 2026. They still need 2 more schools to be a conference, to be a legitimate conference, have a shot at the playoff. So I'm thinking UNLV and Air Force could be next, but we'll see. But anyway, back to on the field. This game, I have no idea. Colorado's favored by 7. I would like to think that coming off of the game last week, Colorado's going to come out with a lot of passion, a lot of energy. They know from last year that Colorado State's coming to play. We're going to see what's up with Torrey Horton. He's a little injured, but he should play star wide receiver for Colorado State. So all I'm going to say, I guess, give me Colorado State to cover. I'll take Colorado to win. Give me Colorado State to cover.
I want to. I mean, like I said, Dion's my favorite player growing up. The reason I'm a Falcons fan. I don't know if Colorado wins games because they execute X's and O's, or it's because they have 2 or 3 dynamic players on offense. Like, I'm not sure if Travis Hunter is getting doubled and Horn isn't getting open, I don't know if another player or the scheme gets another guy open to where they can keep moving the ball. Is it going to be these two guys getting 22 targets, 24 targets, or you're going to be able to run the ball effectively. With 44, I can't forgot his name, and then the guy they
Well,
transferred in.
Offerdahl's the one that they've been playing a
Run the
lot.
ball, yeah.
Dallin Hayden is injured, so and that's going to be the question because if I'm Colorado State, I'm looking at Nebraska and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna drop 8 in the coverage. Are y'all going to run the ball?
Drop 8 in the coverage, and I'm going to hit. They were working the hell out of the flats. Like they were just getting running backs in the flat. They were getting tight ends in the flat. It's like the deep. Like I said, I just don't know if the Colorado scheme is the best fit for because like I don't know. It feels like so often guys are just out of place. Like wide receivers are just wide open sometimes. I don't know. It gives me like this thing where it's like are you successful because you just have a potential number one pick at wide receiver, cornerback, and at quarterback? A top like are you good because of that, or are you good because all these pieces that have transferred in from Jackson State, from Purdue, from Indiana, from wherever you were getting these guys from Florida, like are they meshing together and executing well, or do you just have dynamic athletes in certain position that can make the play in crunch time? Because I want to see a game where they're chopping a team down. You come out 7, 8, 9, 10 play drive, get a touchdown, come out 3 and out, get the ball back, work it down the field.
That's what I wanted against North Dakota State.
I don't recall seeing that. And it's like it feels like they are just a big play away from the feast.
Well, they remind me of Philadelphia when Donovan McNabb got Deshaun Jackson, and it was like, hey, I'm just going to run sideways until I feel like you're open, and I'm going to throw it 50 yards. Like that's basically it. So I'm gonna take sacks. Yeah. I'm gonna get hit. I'm gonna blame my offensive line, even though I'm the one running around holding on to the ball like it's my baby. So I don't know.
NFL comparison I'm about to make, but like I know Grant and it's Mahomes, but when Mahomes do 50 touchdowns, that's what the offense looks like. 50 touchdowns, and even a year after that, when Tyreek was still there, he had like 200 yards receiving against Tampa Bay in the first quarter. But then when he doesn't have that, it still looks like, okay, this system is working for these players. Mm-hmm. I just feel like the Colorado just plays like they need to be behind the 8 ball. They need to be the underdog live in order to step up versus just being the big dog and just coming out.
Right, which is kind of crazy that you say that when Shedeur came out earlier in the offseason and said, we're everybody's Super Bowl.
Yeah, then you should kind of
act like it.
You should operate as if we are the better team and inferior teams are trying to knock us off.
Right.
Not versus just people are trying to get clicks off of victories off of us. Because that's kind of how it looks now, because the execution piece doesn't. I know it's only been 2 games, but even with, like I said, that whole get the ball, march it down their throat, get it back, a punt or a turnover, just like
Ooh.
without someone named Sanders or Hunter making the play.
So I cheered Colorado way before Deion ever showed up. Correct. But part of me, now that we do a podcast, part of me kind of wants the fallout.
It's gonna be.
I kind of want the fallout just for the drama purposes.
It's gonna be cataclysmic.
But I do want Deion to overcome it, like adversity, and But I want this. I think I want this to happen. But I'm going with Colorado, and I'm picking Colorado State to cover.
He'll overcome it at Clemson when Dabo gets bought
out.
Yeah,
okay. And then, of course, something that I truly am sad about and don't want to talk about is I've been sitting up here all week biting my fingernails saying, can we really lose to Memphis? And then it was even more shocking because as I started rubbing my eyes, acting like I had hair and twisting it a little bit, and I was like, Yes, we actually can lose to Memphis because they come through with Seth Hennigan, veteran quarterback. So that's recipe number one for the
Yep.
G5 knocking off the big bad bully. You got to have your veteran
You got to have
quarterback,
a veteran playmaker at quarterback.
And even though it's only been 2 games, Florida State is 123rd out of 133 teams against the run. And Memphis has Mario Anderson. They got Rock Taylor on the outside, Blank Sumi. I'm nervous about this game. And I shouldn't be because obviously Florida State has the 4 stars. They have the 5 stars. They have the Florida speed. They have all the talent. But then when I look around, they still got DJ Alphabet.
They can't
running the quarterback.
Because he was throwing some darts in that Boston College game, and they were dropping them.
They were dropping them.
A lot of guys in their palms.
They were. Keon Coleman, I've been talking about it. Keon Coleman's gone, and now Josh Allen won't even give him the ball. Then you got Johnny Wilson is gone. So Jaheim Bell's gone. So Florida State was just fool's gold from the standpoint of we knew they had talent. We just overstated it because we didn't take into the account the low experience of this talent. So this game is just going to start and end with defense. Last I saw it was a 6-point spread. Florida State, don't show up if you're not going to win by 24. Just spare me if you're not going to win by 24.
Wait, hold on. You said the spread was 6?
Yes.
DJ doesn't look confident. He doesn't look confident at all. He doesn't look like watch him in that Boston College game. And I'll use Quinn Ewers against Michigan. There's a play. So Texas had the ball. They drove down, didn't get points, got the ball back, drove back down.
Right.
And first touchdown that he threw to the tight end. It was messy in the pocket. He slid, stepped up, still behind the line of scrimmage, threw the dart to the tight end. I've watched DJ basically just watch the pocket collapse on him multiple times. I'm like, drop back, slide, step up, do something. And it's like the pocket's collapsing. I got to get rid of the ball. And it's like, you got to get the ball to a playmaker. You can't do it with all these people around your elbow. Get out of it. Or if you see it, and that's the thing with the coach, get them on the edge. You have so much talent that comes to that from that state alone. You just got to get the ball to the hands of your playmakers. He's not a mobile guy. He's a big arm guy, big target, older quarterback. You should be able to change up the stuff on the fly. And to me, that's a coaching disconnect.
Mike Norvell, 2-10 at Florida State without Jordan Travis. I'm ready for some Brock Glenn.
Chad, right? Yeah, you're right, Chad, because my bad. He's a step slow because he doesn't trust what he sees.
Or he's thinking too much. Like one or the other. You know what I mean? Because, you got to remember, he went through a lot of, and I don't want to, make light, but he probably had some PTSD dealing with Clemson and being the blame for everything. Everybody was shitting on him. He was the problem. Cade Klubnik came in, hasn't looked that much better. But
so if he really was focused and understanding what was going on, listen, Clemson isn't that much better without you. You at some point.
But then again, he did complete 57% of his passes last year at Oregon State,
which is odd for college football.
And especially when he had Damian Martinez as his running back, and that's the thing that I don't understand. Like when I look at these people like Alan Bowman at Oklahoma State, and you have Ollie Gordon running for 1,700 yards. How do you finish with 15 touchdowns and 14 interceptions with that type of threat in your run game? But not only new wide receivers at Florida State, but Trey Benson is gone. The starting running back, brought in Roydell Williams from Alabama. Still have Lawrence Toafili, but yeah, I'm going Florida State. I'm taking Florida State to cover. I don't want to hear nothing. Florida State win this game by 24. And then, of course, the other Columbia, we talked about Columbia, South Carolina. Let's talk about Columbia, Missouri, the show me state. You got Missouri, who has not given up a point yet this season, in 2 games. That was against Murray State and Buffalo. So not exactly the best of competition, but nonetheless, 2 straight shutouts. They got Bill O'Brien and the aforementioned Boston College Eagles coming in. So when I look at this game, I saw Missouri favored by 16.5. And I've been going back and forth on it all week long. And I think I'm just going to settle on Boston College to cover. They ran for 263 yards against Florida State. They got their easy win last week against Duquesne, 56-0. So, they got a shutout under their belt as well. Maybe they're coming in riding some confidence. I think Missouri will just be too much. Karna Cook, the Luther Burden. I think that's going to be good enough. I mean, Missouri is a playoff contender. But now, we have to factor in Boston College is not necessarily a typical Boston College team because Bill O'Brien adds a certain element. I know he gets a lot of crap, but I do think Bill O'Brien is actually a good coach. He took over Penn State, especially.
And he has a quarterback. He has a quarterback that can make plays, that can break down a great defensive scheme.
Yeah,
like you said, Missouri hasn't given up a point all year, so that's probably a point of emphasis for them. It's like, we haven't given up a point.
Remember, I was nervous because when we did our preview, the ACC preview, I was talking about, is Bill O'Brien going to let him be himself, or was he going to try to turn him into a pocket guy? And he's so far so good.
I think Bill is just happy to have a quarterback that listens to him, that he doesn't have to chew out like a child on the sideline, because he was cussing Mac out in Germany.
he was cussing out Tom Brady at one point too.
Tom Brady's like, listen, calm down, buddy. Every job you get from now on is going to be because you sat next to me in the meeting room. So pump your brakes.
That's a wild dynamic to think about too, because he was under Belichick, he was under Nick Saban.
Yeah, and he probably has a little bit of that, Bill Saban in him, like the little mix. But yeah,
I want to say he's from Boston too, so he's probably got some of that. What do they call it? Mass holes.
Oh yeah, the mass holes. Yeah,
he's from Boston, so he's got some of that in him. So maybe that local. He's with his local team.
Very gritty, blue collar guy. I mean, like I said, I think it's going to work out for Boston College. I would. If I'm Missouri, I want to come out the same way. Like I said, I expect Colorado to come out. Like, you come out, assert your dominance, show what it looks like defensively, your defensive front, and your offensively. Just like show them, like, hey, you're here. You're playing a real contender, and we're going to beat the brakes off of you for the next 60 minutes. And then we're going to shake hands at the end of the game, and we're going to be 3-0. You're going to be 2-1. I think Missouri comes out and plays like that.
And that's the question about Missouri now, because, for the first time in I'll call it 17 years, they're the hunted. So, we'll see how they deal with it. I don't know if
they're really the hunted. I think there's some.
Well, they have expectation. That's what I'm meaning. Yeah.
But I think this is probably these last couple of years, they're starting to catch up to, because I remember when they went to the SEC, I remember thinking, like, that's not a good move. But now everybody's moving everywhere, so none of it makes any sense. But I remember thinking, like, I don't know if you're going to get the same kind of talent in Missouri to compete with these SEC schools. Because it was a lot. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of schools that were probably out of the region that were in different conferences, but they were the most notable ones I can think of in recent history to be in the Midwest, but playing in the Southeastern Conference. I thought that was a little odd. Like, this is like around the time Michael Sam and Drew Lock and Chase Daniel were there.
Hey, to be fair, Missouri does border Arkansas and Kentucky.
But they're still considered Midwest.
I know.
They're not considered Southeast.
No.
They're definitely more Midwest. So, like, I was like, that was a piece. But they seem to have kind of got their program on track, and they're on par with the upper echelon teams in SEC. So you got to come out and assert that. You can't let some team that thinks they're on a hot streak come in there and continue. You got to assert dominance, immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So of course, finishing up the college football with 2 5s random notes. So so here we go. So I picked Florida to upset Texas A&M tomorrow.
Correct.
Mr. Logical. Texas A&M, my baby school, has not won a road game since 2021. I don't even know how that's possible.
What?
You know what I'm saying? People just don't listen. You know what I'm saying?
2021.
But yeah, 2021 was the last time A&M won a road game.
Is that when they fired Jimbo?
They fired Jimbo last year.
Last year.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
So
2021.
2 seasons without road wins?
Yes.
And then
the good news is that you can
60 mil,
you can
right?
cook your schedule. You can cook your schedule to the point of having 8 home games, i.e. Michigan this year with 8 home games, only 4 road games. So maybe it's not as bad as it sounds, but it is what it is. But Graham Mertz is back. He missed last week's demolition of Samford. DJ Lagway came in, the freshman, 456 yards. People have been having this controversy who should be the starter.
You should start him.
We might see both of them this week. Missouri, back to Missouri, 18 straight non-conference wins at home. Boston College, I told you they ran for 263 yards against Florida State after their game against Duquesne last week. They're up to 282.5 yards per game. Kevin Jennings is the official starting quarterback for SMU now. Preston Stone has been benched after some abysmal performances. Obviously, they lost to BYU last week. How bad do you have to be to lose to BYU, first of all? How bad do you have to be to lose to BYU 18-15? Bad enough that it costs you your job. But, hey, I'll be in Gerald Ford Stadium in 2 weeks watching the Seminoles, so there you go. This one was odd to me, given that me and you have these Utah backgrounds. This is Utah and Utah State's first matchup since 2015. But
you would have thought they would have played more because it seems like they play Southern Utah. It seems like Utah plays Southern Utah every year. They play Utah. They play Utah Valley. That's one of their other non-conference Utah games that they play.
And here we are. No Cam Rising. He's got the injured hand, and next week, Utah goes to Stillwater. So hurry up and get well, Cam. SMU had some good. Well, SMU did have some notoriety coming with them to the ACC, but like I always say, it's hard for those G5 teams, to compete on the lines week to week. It's going to take a few years. Just like last year, the whole Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, BYU, they went 8-28 in the Big 12 as far as the conference games go. Jackson Dart at Ole Miss. Now, granted, they've only beat Furman and Middle Tennessee State University, but I just thought, wow, this guy is really averaging 14.7 yards an attempt. I thought that was pretty impressive. Brock Vandegrift, he's probable, but Georgia's coming into the Commonwealth tomorrow to play Kentucky, so him going against his former school, coming off a 31-6 loss to South Carolina. I'm trying to figure out if Georgia hits 50 or not. Just saying.
Against Kentucky.
Just saying. Pray. Join me in prayer for Nick Saban University, a.k.a. Kent State, who just lost last week to FCS St. Francis. And now they are 48-point underdogs to the Volunteers.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's going to be a long day for Kent State. We got West Virginia and Pitt tomorrow. I'm picking West Virginia. West Virginia is favored by 2. But the reason I brought that game up is because bring back the backyard brawl. We need that every year. One of the best rivalries in college football. Even if you go back to 2007, Pitt upset West Virginia, or we could have had a West Virginia Ohio State national title game, and this Tim Tebow shit would have never got popping. You know what I'm saying? And then, Tennessee should be in the playoffs, but it's tough, man. They got Georgia and Bama, so we'll see.
You got to go through the gauntlet of the
They got to go through the. Oh, and by the way, speaking of which, I'm glad you brought that up, Chad. Thank you very much, because Oklahoma, coming off of a 16-12 win over Houston, who lost to UNLV. They play Tulane tomorrow, who got screwed against Kansas State last week. But Oklahoma needs to get their shit right, because next week is their first SEC game, and it's at home against those Volunteers. So, so get right, Oklahoma, or you're going to need prayers next week too. And then, since you brought it up, Chad, about Missouri being in the top 5 and everything, it popped into my head when I was talking about the backyard brawl. Next year, Kansas and Missouri play for the first time since they separated conferences, which is another foul on the blood of college football, because this goes back to the Civil War.
These rivalry games should be locked in. All the conference realignment and movement, there should be exceptions for the rivalry games, especially if there's
I'm already upset that we don't have Bedlam this year.
If it's like real history, we don't have Texas, Oklahoma.
No, I'm talking about Oklahoma State.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we don't have that this year, which is a foul, and that's why I'm happy about tomorrow. That's why it's personal, because tomorrow you got the Apple Cup, Washington against Washington State. You got Oregon against Oregon State, Colorado against Colorado State. That's just the way it's supposed to be. But Kansas and Missouri, I care about that rivalry just because, like I said, it goes back to the Civil War, burning down Lawrence, the Jayhawkers. It's a great story of overcoming and all that good stuff. But real quick before we get out of here, I know I brought it up real quick, but just to get some thoughts real quick. So what do you think about this new Pac-12 news I gave you?
I like the Pac-12 news. I think they're going to need something. It's the way that their conference was basically just vultured overnight is astonishing. But having the whole California market, I would keep every team in the Mountain Time Zone and West. I wouldn't try to get any team that's not playing in that clock.
Allegedly, they're looking at UTSA, Tulane, possibly North Texas, Memphis.
I would leave them out.
Well, the problem is
lock down that West Coast market.
But that's the problem. There's nobody out there. That's the problem. There's no because Stanford and Cal are in the ACC now, so they're caught up in that whole grant of rights thing until that's resolved. So they can't come back. None of the Big Ten
games.
I'm just talking about in the conference though. None of the big.
You still keep the eyes, because the problem,
right.
We talked about it before, is that they're not on TV. It's like 10 o'clock comes. I'd watch another game at 10 o'clock because it's only 7 out west, but on the East Coast, like, we've been watching games for 10 hours already.
Right.
Out west, they might not have gotten up for that noon game unless it's like a Texas-Michigan situation. So I would try to keep as many teams as I can out west and really own that market.
Well, what I wonder is, does this open the door for Montana State, North Dakota State, South Dakota State to shit or get off the pot finally, because the Mountain West is going to need to replace, and the smart money is probably on UTEP and New Mexico State, but that ain't saving nothing, especially if UNLV ends up going to the Pac-12 as well. So, it's going to get real interesting on these realignment here streets. Every time I try to stop talking about it, it just keeps on happening. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. He is the one and only. Do not bring feelings to a fact fight, Mr. Logical. I am your unorthodox statistician, 25. We will be back on Tuesday, not Monday, but Tuesday.
Not Monday.
With some NFL review and some more college talk. We'll see what else is going on in the sports world. And before you blink, the baseball playoffs are going to be here. We're about 8 regular season games away from that. We got NBA training camp probably about to start in the next week or so. So, sports reports is ordered. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. We love you. Enjoy your football, unless you're a Cowboy fan or a Gator fan. Peace.